Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Monday, October 6th. And we're still in the government shutdown and we are still looking for news events to come out. No news, I guess, is not going to be released until it gets back open. Overall, market is holding on pretty darn good. We have been still extending the last few days to the upside since October 1st. So pretty much going straight up. Uh, No sign just yet. Though it's grinding, it's not necessarily exploding to the upside. It's just kind of grinding to the upside, but it's definitely trading higher. So we had extensions the last few days, and let's move out of the middle. So we're still in it. And today is so far they haven't extended. They say and the overnight session is just kind of holding in a holding pattern. And chances are we're going to be staying around, sticking around in a holding pattern like that, unless we get a some kind of, unless this whole thing starts dragging out for a few more weeks, or well, it's going to drag to a point where the market's going to say enough is enough and probably have some reaction to it. But right now, I mean, we're going to start range bound buy. It's going to be to the upside. Look to buy early weakness is exactly the same thing as before until we see some sort of a shift in this dynamic. So no news to drive the market. There's going to be any news here going until we get past this shutdown. So starting off, range bound biases to the upside, looking to buy weakness. I had an edge in between here and that little edge here in the middle. It just get a little bit too crowded, so I kind of took it off. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes you just get them too crowded, but trying to be a little bit more spread them out just a little bit more. But early on, looking to buy weakness against that 6770s, 65s down to the 55s for rotations up. I would say nowadays, since they've been grinding the way they have, if they start trading below that 55s, I would take off the long bias and let's go back range bound at that point. So 55s takes us down here toward this ledge. And if they start trading below that, I think they can certainly run it right back here to that 6,700 area. So we'll see if this move out of the middle keeps going, if they have enough tailwind for it to kind of keep moving higher. And it looks like they're trying to trade it higher now. I mean, in the overnight, but you know how it goes when the day session kicks in. They can certainly knock this down pretty darn quick. So that's how we get started. For short setups, they had an edge here right here at the 6790s. Looks like they're right above it right now. Next level up is going to be 6800s. So those are the two potential short setups, but I would be a lot less aggressive on the short side. Always give it a little bit more room. We're in a state, we're gonna move out of the middle to the upside, so I would just take it easy on that one and see how far they and let the resistance area form first before you start trying a short. So no reason to be super aggressive on the short side today at all. So starting off from the long side, looking to buy weakness. Um, there could be something here at the 6780s, just so you know, but I left the edge at 6770s, 65s, and 55s for now. All right, so that's the ES to get started. Pretty straightforward. If we get some headlines, we'll pay attention. I mean, the ES and NASDAQ is pretty much in that mode right now. Looking at the bonds and the NASDAQ. Where's my bonds and NASDAQ? There it is. So bond market is backed off a little bit. They were up here, now they're right back here to the 116.10s again. So yeah, okay. So they're back down here again. So we had a little bit after the rate cut, they started trending up a little bit. And now they're right back down here to that lower edge at the 116. So we'll see. That's a pretty good move to the downside. So bond market may start showing us signs that it's not happy. And that's the one to pay attention to. Bond market is a lot bigger than the equity markets. And if they start having a problem, you'll probably see that before you see before you see the equity markets react. So bond market's reacting, watch out, that could be a sign. So they're down here to the 116s again. Watch that for looking to buy still at the 1606s, 116s, 115.28s. But these two, the last one would be 15.24, but these three, I would say they start taking out to 116, so I would probably be a little bit less aggressive in these lower areas, starting to think about the move lower. So bond market, watch for the bond market to start moving. If that starts happening, there's going to be some issues going on. So that just tells you the confidence. That's I think the bond market is one that's going to move a bit based on the shutdown, probably before the equity markets. But trust me, bond market moves, it's going to be impacting the equity markets. Maybe not right away, but they will be impacting it. So I will start off with a slight bias to the downside. Looking to sell strength, 16, at this point, 16, 14 to 15, 16, 18. Above 16, 18, I think we may see a retracement trade back up again. So only looking for shorts against that 16, 14s and the 16, 18s for rotations down. And looking to buy against 1606s and 116s for rotations up. Pretty much it. And if they start retracing, fine, they will back in a range. If they start taking out these lows and taking out that 116, I think they can head quite a bit lower. We're still looking to buy against that 115, 28s, maybe 24s, but just not as aggressively at that point. But watch the bond market. That is what could set this thing off in a big way. Nasdaq, look at that. This, didn't quite expect that straight up on the Nasdaq. They just blew out the 25 180s, heading higher. So something is going on the Nasdaq. They are right back here, extending to the upside, back in that move out of the middle again. So and this move here definitely moves it higher. The ES hasn't quite followed suit, but the Nasdaq looks like it's a pretty strong start of the day, and yes, traded from the long side of the market, same as the ES. So as you see on the F1, the capital flow chart, we are heading higher, and that's traded as such. Looking at our we're going to buy weakness at this point. It's going to be reverse retest of 180s, but then down at the 112s, 25,040s, and I would say below that London low. Well, you have the 100 110s. 25,070 and then the 50s for rotations up. So these three levels of support, what to look to buy against those. Below that London low at the 25,050s, take off the long bias, go back range bound. So we'll see if this whole thing now, there's definitely back in the move out of the middle to the upside on the Nasdaq. The E has not quite followed suit yet. We'll see. So, but that little rally on the Nasdaq, yeah, definitely something happening there. So it's and after the shutdown, Nasdaq is rallying. Just remember, it can be reversed pretty darn quick if you get some bigger financial currents moving. In other words, the bond market. All right, so it's ES, Nasdaq trade both on the long side of the market, not be super aggressive on the short side. And then we'll see how this whole thing develops. Finally, oil and gold. And so oil backed off a little bit, traded a little bit higher in the overnight, then back down here, testing that support there at 61.20s again. They probed pretty hard to the downside, reversed it right back up again. So it's grinding lower. Watch that level. If they trade up above that 62.50s, we are back. We're heading back up to the 63, 64s. So I would look for shorts against the 62s. 62.25, 62.50. These first resistance areas. Given the overnight, I would look to potentially look for a long trade against this 61.30s, but not very aggressively. If this they already ran through it. This morning I was a little bit more aggressive on that 61.30s, but at this point, since they already probed below it, I would just be a little bit less. They ran right onto that mode of that prior distribution. Probably worth noting that. So if you mark it up here like that, there you have that mode from your Friday's distribution. They ran right to that mode and then bounced. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? So worth putting in a level there, right there. That's worth worth paying attention to. But I would take off the long bias if they trade below that 61.30s again. I would stay on the long side as long as they hold above it. And if they trade above the 62s, I'm thinking they can certainly run it up to the 63, 64s. I'm still looking for shorts against that 62, 62.25, 62.50s for rotations down again. So that's kind of the overall dynamic. So looking for some early strength to get short for rotations down. But watch that level 61.30. So that comes out and starts trading below it. We can certainly be right back here testing the lows again. So we'll see if this little strength in the overnight has any legs. But you can see a little run down here happen. Run down, complete retracement. They're reverse retesting that 61.30 right now. So if that holds, could be a nice potential short setup there. And gold, man, what can you say about gold? That just freaking that's straight up. And fear of missing out or whatever it is, but look at that thing go. So we are up here at the 39.70. Look at 4,000 gold's going to happen pretty quick here. No doubt in my mind that they just took out that 39.20s. It happened in the overnight, and it was kind of back and forth for a bit. I was actually watching it when it started when it started heading higher. And I was watching it. If I look at let's scroll this guy back a little bit. It was here. This here is when it started here, like at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. Started a massive move to the upside, all the way to that 39.45s, and then he just kind of ran out of gas. It stalled there. But I mean, it was super tempted to hop on it because I was watching this early on, but you never know how far he's going to go. So it's like, yeah, no, I'm not chasing that. I'm not going to be. It's just it's late at night, or it's not that late at night, but it's starting to get evening. It's like Sunday night watching. It's like, well, nah. Because I mean, you get in a little bit. You never know how long it's going to go. So you, if you get in late, you just get shaken out and rocked around. But they ran out there for a bit, and then it's a little bit of turbulence, but then back to the back to new highs pretty much. So interesting start. Early on in that move, they just took it all the way up here to that 39.45 level, and that's where they stalled. And then throughout the rest of the night, at the London session, they kind of ran out of gas and just been going sideways here. But they're consolidating now. So the overnight in the Asian session, took it way up there. So so gold doubled pretty much 100% up here in pretty quick, in pretty short order. So nothing but spectacular. I haven't been aggressive on holding gold by any means. So I was watching it like, okay, missed that one. But then again, if you have been watching gold for a while, you realize that nothing has been going on in gold. They've been trading back and forth between 1,000 and 1,800 for the longest time. And then after a while, it started heading high, a little bit higher, and a little bit higher, and then the whole thing has started taking off. So whatever that is, driving gold to the upside, fear of missing out, or if it's something bigger in the background, it'll come to light. And I hear all sorts of different explanations for it, but someone is buying gold, and it's for a reason, and what that reason really is, or it could be more than one reason, but there's definitely some net buying of gold going on right now. And geopolitical concern or uncertainty is usually the reason for it. So, but what that is, yeah, that's going to be a big question mark. So, not that big actually, because we know that the overall hotspots in the world right now. The question is just if they're going to be contained or they're going to blow up further. So a little sidetrack there. But anyway, so trade gold from the long side. No reason not to. So look to buy weakness on gold, 39.55s. 45s down to that 39.35s. Below 35s, I would really start thinking maybe take off that long bias. There could be a short trade here below that session lows, in the London session lows below the 55s. Same as before, yes, the pure technical trade. And you see this more than often than when they reverse that overnight. So if they take out that 39.55, we can see a nice retracement trade. And it could be pretty violent. It could take it all the way down here to the reverse retest the 39.20 breakout point. And that would be another buying opportunity right there. But that could be also a beautiful short if you are paying attention, because that can happen pretty quick. Anyway, so that's all in gold. So trade gold, oil, range bound, look to sell strength, see if again if that reverse retest holds for another rotation down. If they start taking out that 62.50s, look for moves up to the 63.64s. And gold, let's watch that 55s. Looking to buy weakness against support, but below the 55s could be a nice short retracement trade developing at that point as well. All right, so we leave it there. Back to the ES. And let's see. So the ES never made a new high. They just kind of backing down a little bit. Nasdaq is backing off a little bit as well. So let's see how this whole thing shakes out. No news to drive the market. So it's all twisting in the wind and just how the market feels about things. So earnings, expectations, all that driving it, but there's no news to drive the market right now. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. All right, guys, later.